welcome to Doozer Shop. This is kind of a sort of a view into what I've been playing with today and last night. Working on my garden tractor. Maybe Joseph, garden tractor boy, might appreciate this over there in England. But anyways, let me take you handheld and jump right into it, and I'll show you what I've been up against here. So here we go. All right, it is all right. This is a Craftsman GT6000, right? Not a terrible tractor, GT6000. I got the Kohler 18 twin, and what I've been doing is working on the steering. It's not a steering box, it's a steering gear. And I got the forklift out because I've been lifting it up, because you got to lift it up to get the shaft out, and it's crazy. My gear mesh was getting looser and looser, and these things are not built very industrially. So it ended up being a bronze bushing, only what was the shaft size? 3/4 shaft size, but 1/2 inch in length. So the surface area was terrible. And it's just not that. It's the whole box was just designed, well, it's not a box, but it's a plate in a sector gear and da-di-da-da. But anyways, got the battery out. That's the battery shelf. And it's all, I'm stepping on tools. Yeah, the battery shelf goes in there and it bolts in, and there's a bottom cross piece, which is the plate, which has a sector gear on. And it got the wheel off, of course, and gear pullers, and just a ton of tools. I've cleaned up, believe it or not. The socket's out, more tools. I tore this thing from head to tail apart. But anyways, let's go in the shop. I got the wheel off the Super Bronc. I got a brand new tire for it. Got the old tire off. I used the hydraulic press of all things to get that tire off, because, you know, make it easy. Alright, here we are in the shop proper. So I was up late last night, out here till like 11 o'clock, and yes, I've got everything apart and open and tools everywhere. So this is the whole. It's not quite finished, but it's almost finished. All right, I'm in the shadow here. Let's turn around. All right, so that's the cross member that goes from plate to plate on the frame of the tractor. And it's kind of interesting. So I'm trying to steady here. So it's got a sector gear and a pinion gear. And what the deal is, so that's the plate. It's flanged. It's got nuts welded. It's got some kind of dog bone thing. And that dog bone is plastic. Nylon or Delrin or some kind of plastic. And it's a loose tolerance fit, right? So there's a steel sleeve spacer bushing in this side, and that's the actual support bearing for the sector, which goes to the steering linkage. And then the pinion, of course, you know, the steering wheel, it goes up to there, double D flats on there. And this is sort of I tightened it up considerably with all the stuff I did. But basically, there is a flanged bushing 1 inch outside, 3/4 inside. You can't see, but there's a washer and a C-clip, or sorry, an E-clip. There's a clip. And this side is just a spacer washer on that side. So that's all supposed to, you know, keep everything tight. Well, the gear mesh, the teeth were meshing quite loosely, so the spacing was drifting on this thing. So this plastic thing keeps the mesh, and that bushing takes the separation load of the gear mesh. So the gears want to not stay together. The gears want to come apart. So that one bushing, the bronze bushing, which is I guess an oilite bushing, takes the separation forces of the gears, and if you're turning left or you're turning right, it also takes that force. So this bushing had one good side, one good quadrant. The other quadrant was worn from, you know, the gear pressure, and then left and right quadrants were worn from the action of steering the wheels. So much force is taken on that bushing. So I replaced the bushing. Actually, I bought a longer one at the hardware store. Then I found my headed bushing stuff. My through bushings and my headed bushings, or flange bushings rather, are in different pickle jars in my collection of stuff. So anyways, this thing moves Cadillac. It moves deluxe, as John Crane would say. What I did is I made this aluminum strap, right? So let me just pick it up. So this aluminum strap has an R10 bearing in there, 5/8 bore, 1 3/8 outside, and I think it's, I don't know if it's 7/16 thick or 11/32 thick, but anyways, I made this aluminum piece on the Bridgeport, so I used the boring head, and that's actually a 1/2 thou press fit on the bearing, okay? And there's a good shot. The way this works, you know, go in one direction, it's okay. Go in this direction, I had to carve out. And this looks more complicated than it is. That's just a 90-degree cut with an end mill. And this plate is riveted to the gear with, I think, 3 or 4 rivets. You see how it's tweaked? Ah, there you go. It's bent at a 20-degree angle or something for the spherical joint, the Heim joint that goes on the drag link for the steering linkage. Well, all I did is I bolted it to the Bridgeport table, and I just used a 3/8 end mill and cut out for clearance, right? And I'm doing all this one-handed here, so bear with me. Oh. So that's why. So when the steering is, I forget, it's either all the way left or all the way right, it needs clearance from my aluminum plate, right? So I just kind of scribed a line, brought it to the mill machine table, the Bridgeport, and I just held it down with one bolt and a spacer off the table, and that gave me clearance. So that's all the way one direction, and that's, you know, all the way the opposite direction, and that's it. And believe me, the strength that I, you know, compromised on this plate, this is a 1/4 inch plate. I mean, this thing is so ungodly strong, more strong than it needs to be. And I used left a radius in the corner so it's not going to want to crack or whatever. And I didn't even cut into the gear. That's just cutting through the dirt and the paint. Left the rivets intact, you know. So and that's 100% travel. So that's my solution. This is actually drilled and tapped for 1/2 inch 13. with a jam nut. To set the, you know, you tighten that, and there's some washers and spacers, and then it sort of like keeps a distance because it's not a shoulder bolt, it's a regular half inch bolt. So that's going to work. That's going to tighten it up considerably. So the gear mesh will always be good. It'll always be spot on, perfect. That was the problem. So now the left-right forces are, you know, still taken up by that bushing. So really what I should do, and I might do this, is put a strap from, you know, with 2 bolts mounting to this aluminum off to the side here, the right side, and make some spacers and use 2 bolts and bolt it to this. So I need a strap of metal to absorb the left-right torque of this reaction bar. That'll really save wear and tear on that bronze oilite bushing. So that's my next step, and I'll just use a piece of 3/4 inch flat bar, maybe 1/8 inch or whatever, to absorb the side thrust of this. So that's what it is. It's pretty neat what I got going on here. You know, making a press fit using the boring head for that bearing, and it's just in there. The depth is sort of arbitrary. The fact that bearing is on this shaft and it's 5/8 is not arbitrary. This had a sloppy MIG weld welding the gear to the shaft, and it was like 11/16. It was a weird dimension, 0.665 something. So I turned it down to 5/8, and I exposed a little bit of the line between the gear and the shaft. So I TIG welded the end, put it back in the lathe, turned it to just fit size 625 for 5/8, and then I drilled and tapped the end for 1/4 20. So I might put a little spacer and a big fat washer on there to keep that bearing, you know, located from the end of the shaft, because there's a spacer, 2 spacer washers between the gear and the bearing race in there. So anyhow, I'll put this down. That's what I've been working on, and it's kind of low tolerance, but it needs to be tight enough to work. And just the measurement between those two, the shaft and the other shaft, was I had to calculate it all with the calipers, measuring stuff. It was 3.281. So it's a fraction, right? 3.281. So I had the Bridgeport set up for boring the hole there. Moved over 3.281. Drilled and tapped for drilled and tapped for 1/2 inch 13. So that's threaded in there. And that's it. So that's a fix that's going to make this tractor live and steer way better for the rest of its life, I'm quite sure. Don't know if I should grease this, because grease attracts dirt and might be abrasive. I don't know. I don't know what to do. But anyways, that's what I wanted to show you guys, make a quick video here. Hope you enjoyed this little process down problem-solving road here on this GT6000 Ford tractor. This is my main lawn mowing tractor. Yeah, it's not a great thing, and I need to get the Cub Cadet tractor motor rebuilt because it smokes like a chimney. But for now, that's going to get me going. It's what I enjoy doing, is fixing stuff like this here in the shop. So hope you enjoyed it. I'll keep working on this, but until next time, this is Doozer's Shop.